Hi, welcome to a new video, and we're back with Project Cars 2, and I want to talk about some force feedback changes that do genuinely make this a new game. Now, one caveat to start off with: unfortunately for those of you playing on console, what I'm about to go through will only work on PC because it revolves around custom force feedback setup, which isn't an option on the console version, which is a real shame. It genuinely is in this case. So, before I talk about what the change is, I just want to talk about how we got here. So, Gran Turismo 7, recently for silly money in the Legends dealership, had the Porsche 917K on there. And I really fancied giving a 917K a run, but I wasn't going to grind for like 80 hours on GT7 to do it. And I also fancied being able to run it on a historic track. So, Historic Le Mans, 917K available to me straight away equals Project Cars 2. So I gave it a run on there, and yeah, it was fun, but the one thing it brought back for me was, in stock form, just how janky at times the force feedback can be on Project Cars 2. Don't get me wrong, when it came out, I don't think it was as bad as many people made out at that point in time as a contemporary product, but it could have been a hell of a lot better. So it started a bit of digging, and I thought, I know PopsRacer's done good force feedback setups for Project Cars 2 in the past. I wonder if any of them have been updated. So I popped over to Race Department, and lo and behold, I'd missed it because I wasn't really playing Project Cars 2. Last November, the Pop Racing force feedback for Project Cars 2 was updated with a new, what looks like completely rewritten from scratch version. So I gave it a go, and wow, it's amazing. Now, first of all, I just want to talk about how you get this set up and installed for anybody that hasn't done it before, and then I want to talk about the changes it brings to Project Cars 2 and why this is so important. So, to set it up, first of all, you just go on the Race Department, create an account, download it, boom, job's done. When you open up the WinZip folder or file, you basically get then four options in terms of custom force feedback files. You get one for mid-range to direct drive wheels, one for Logitech, and two for the Thrustmaster T300. And one of these just has more seat of the pants SOP feel on it than the other. I've gone for the standard one, not with the one with more detail, but you can have a play around with these. And all you do is you pick the one you want and you copy it into your Project Cars 2 folder in your documents location on your PC. Okay, not into the main install file, into your documents one. Now, you will notice that you'll already have a custom force feedback settings in there. It's FFB _ custom _ settings. You can just edit that name. I, as you can see, put B up on mine just to back it up, and then you copy over the PopsRacer file you want, and you edit that down so that it says just FFB _ custom _ settings. Bob's your uncle. You then will need to pop into Project Cars 2 and set up the force feedback. So you go into force feedback settings, select custom, and then set these up as you see on the screen here. Well, actually, one caveat here. You can either set them up directly as you see on screen here, but I am running the boost settings on my T300, so I've set the volume to 30 rather than the recommended 50. If you're not using the boost setting, set it on 50 for volume. Everything else remains the same. If you are using the boost, I would recommend dropping the volume down to 30. If you're wondering what the boost setting is, I've got a video down below that, and I'll link to it in the description, that you can go and watch, and talks about firmware version 34 and the boost setting for T300 wheels and other Thrustmaster wheels. So you get this set up. I would also recommend mapping some buttons on your keyboard to allow you on the fly when you're driving to increase or decrease the force feedback volume. It's a fairly simple thing to do, but it is extremely useful. That said, with this custom file, I've not found a massive need to do it myself. So with that setup up and running, what changes does it bring to the force feedback in Project Cars 2? Well, let's go through some of the issues that I've personally had with the force feedback in Project Cars 2 in the past, and what I think this does to change it. So first things first, the force feedback in Project Cars 2 has always been, well, a little notchy is perhaps the best way I can describe it, particularly as load is increasing in terms of steering resistance, and that notchiness made it really difficult to feel the finer detail and granularity within the force feedback. You know, you'd be applying load and it would be kind of like jink, jink, jink. It felt like it was a notchy. It actually reminded me a little bit of the days when I had a really old Logitech wheel, which was purely gear driven, and the notchiness you get off of that. This force feedback custom profile completely removes that. You have incredibly smooth increase in application of load as you go through and apply it. It works brilliantly. You get a really nice step off of load as your self-aligning torque realigns, and the reduction in self-aligning torque obviously reduces the load on your wheel. Really nicely done, really communicative in that regard, and allows you to feel when your tyres are going to go and catch the over rotation that occurs when they do go a hell of a lot easier as a result. So does make a massive difference in that regard. What it also improves is the really weird snatchiness that you used to get on some curbs with the force feedback in Project Cars 2, and a lot of people complained about this. Some people could live with it, some people it really and understandably wound them up, where you'd hit a curb and basically it could almost snatch the wheel out of your hands. Now, curbs can pull your steering, that's a real thing, but it was far too heavy in Project Cars 2 as a default. This is now much better done. It will still tug at the wheel, and it will do so in a realistic manner, but it's much more manageable now, and it isn't anywhere near as overpowering. The final thing is on the base force feedback on Project Cars 2. When you're driving cars with a decent amount of downforce on them, what you used to find quite a lot is that the differentiation between mechanical grip and aero grip was massive, and it could feel at times like with mechanical grip in comparison to the aero, you almost had nothing there. It didn't feel like the tyres were doing anything. Then the aero would come on load and it would load up really quickly, and you could feel a lot of more grip. Despite the fact that it was a gradual change, it didn't feel like it. Now with this, it really does feel like you can still differentiate quite clearly between mechanical and aero grip, but it is a lot smoother transition as a result, and you find that you're not overcompensating for the step between mechanical and aero that used to occur an awful lot within the base and the standard force feedback. So it's made a huge difference across the board, and overall it just feels with this custom profile that the force feedback is so much better integrated into the physics. You really can tell the difference between what's going on, and I did a lap in the Formula Ford with full telemetry, and you can see just how much smoother and more balanced and integrated the force feedback is within the physics of the game in comparison to what used to be really notchy, spiky force feedback in the previous standard build of the game. Honestly, if Project Cars 2 had have had this from launch, or shortly after launch it had been patched in during its life cycle, I swear a hell of a lot of people would be on board with the potential that exists within Project Cars 2, because this really is a significant difference, that big a difference. I know the title of this video may seem a bit clickbaity, new force feedback equals new game, but genuinely that is how I feel about this. It's really good. All of the car combos and track combos I've tried so far, which isn't exhaustive, but there's a lot in there, and some recommendations to try out, and ones that are matched to other titles, so you can do back-to-back comparisons if you want as well. But it really is for me a game changer. This made a huge difference, and running stock force feedback versus the PopsRacer's latest build from November last year with the 917 at Historic Le Mans, you can suddenly feel the tyres. You can feel the tyres are more alive, and you can see what's going on with that actually incredibly complicated tyre model and physics engine for the tyres that's in Project Cars 2. You can actually feel it really working. You know, those are big tyres on the 917, and you can feel what they're doing. You can feel that resistance to an initial turning, because that's a large contact patch you're trying to manage there. In contrast with, say, the Formula Ford, it's still got a good load on it from that mechanical grip, but you can feel the difference in the contact patch you're trying to turn. And honestly, that's something that just simply didn't exist in the old build, you know, the standard force feedback. Not because it didn't exist within the tyre model of Project Cars 2, it did, but because the force feedback was masking it to a large degree. So yeah, if you have Project Cars 2 on PC, I strongly recommend you go and give these custom force feedback profiles from PopsRacer a go. I will leave a link to them down in the description below. They really are quite amazing, and I'd love to hear, once you've tried, what you all think about these. If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, please do hit the like button, and if you want to see more content of this type, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos get uploaded. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.